another term of the NDP is just going to be a crushing blow to the BC economy. Election 2024. So this is the last one I'm going to do on politics before Saturday night. It's right now Thursday. Saturday, there's going to be a big event that I'm looking forward to going to. John Rustad's going to be there. My dad, Jay Coupar, he's running for the Conservatives in Little Mountain riding. So I'll be completely blunt with you guys, totally transparent. I am very biased here. I'm a realtor. I'm a free market guy. I'm a conservative. My dad's running here. But I will say that I used to be, believe it or not, an NDP supporter because I used to work for the City of Vancouver for many years. And I was told by my union that if you want what's best for you, you should be voting NDP because, of course, they're the blue collar, proponents of the working man's government here. And, over the years, my position on this has changed. What happened is eventually I got tired of punching the clock and working for the government. I am very ambitious. I wanted to go into business for myself and actually build something. When I did that, I began to surround myself with a very different type of person. That's not to say that, I had a lot of great friends at the City of Vancouver that I still keep in touch with to this day. But it's a different type of mentality. These are business owners, homeowners, entrepreneurs. And in talking to these people, I had a big shift in my perspective here. And what I realized is we have a very, very hostile business environment in BC. It's very hard to get started and build a business. It's rewarding. I'm glad I did it. When I was at the City of Vancouver, people used to tell me, you're crazy to leave because you've got job security. I felt like I was in a maximum security prison though. So that's not the kind of life that I want to have. I want to have some control over my own future. That's why I got into real estate, which I'm very passionate about. Maybe for you guys, it's something else. But my social circle completely changed. And what I realized is we are just getting absolutely killed on our taxes here in BC, and it's incredibly hard to get anywhere. The government is taxing us to death. We have a left-wing radical socialist government here under David Eby. Not much better in Canada with Mr. Trudeau. As I've said, these guys are two peas in a pod. They're both socialists. And they're not free market guys. That's the big difference here. They think that the government's hand should be in everything. In fact, if it was up to them, they would just have everybody working and paying taxes to the government, working for the government. And that's what they've done. All the jobs they've created have been in the public sector. And I'm not against the public sector, but it's not sustainable. You have to have a strong backbone to the economy. You have to have a really strong free market enterprise system because that's what gives you the tax base to pay for all these social programs, which is what the NDP is all about. So just look at BC, forestry, mining, tourism. The NDP has crushed all of these industries. Real estate would be next on the chopping block. They would love to crush the real estate industry, the real estate economy as well. But of course, they never got the memo here that the real estate industry in BC is the BC economy. That's all we have left here. They've killed off everything else. So if you don't have a strong private sector, how do you pay for all these social programs? The answer is very simple: running massive deficits, which is what they've done. I was listening to Eby trash talk John Rustad and the Conservatives because they hadn't released their costed platform, which they've now released. Wow, that takes some balls. I mean, these guys went from a surplus to running a $9 billion deficit. That's what these socialist governments do. Sooner or later, as I've said before, socialism always fails because you run out of other people's money here. Now, of course, they have the costed platform, and it turns out they're not cutting anything. Not really. What they will do is they'll cut out all the costly bureaucracy and get the economy, get the engine of the economy moving. And if you unleash the power of the free market enterprise system, you're going to have billions of dollars in revenue to pay for all these social programs and balance the budget. It's very simple economics 101. But I had an NDP comment here said, I'm voting, most of you guys are voting conservative. I could see it in the comments, but I did have a few NDPers weigh in here. And he said he likes the NDP's plan for housing that's going to be, because of course, David Eby thinks the government is going to build all the housing and they can produce housing at a much more affordable rate than the free market can, which is nonsense because the free market is the most efficient way to allocate capital and get homes built. It's not the free market that's failed. It's the government. 30% of the cost of a new home all goes to the government here, whether it's the property transfer tax, the GST, or if it's the community amenity contributions or the cost levies here at the municipal level. That's where most of this is going to. It's just taxes and bureaucracy. But these units, okay, they're going to be about 60% of the cost of something you would buy that the free market would build. Okay, fair enough. But first of all, the government's financing it. You're going to have to eventually pay that back. It's basically a co-ownership arrangement. Now you're co-owning with Big Daddy government. And on top of that, if you read the fine print to these projects, they're 99-year leases. The government retains control of the land. You don't own them. It's a lease. So does that sound like a good deal to you? I mean, they're pitching this as a solution to housing affordability and helping people get into home ownership. It's not. It's the end of ownership. This is where the government is going to control the homes, and it's just a glorified rental here. And by the way, I would steer clients away from these, generally speaking. I usually steer clients into freehold properties. But the NDP, listen, I get it. For the working man, blue-collar worker, you're working in the government, in the public sector, you want to vote for the NDP. A lot of these guys, too, are renters, and they're struggling. And, of course, the NDP is going to give you a helping hand. You know, speculation taxes and rent caps, and they're going to protect you from the greedy real estate developers and the landlords and the investors. But it's all smoke and mirrors, guys. Don't buy it. But I'm telling you guys, the economy will struggle. As long as the NDP is in power, that economy will struggle. It's not just going to impact a guy like Chip Wilson in his $70 million mansion on Point Grey Road there. This is going to affect everyone. And a matter of fact, when the economy struggles, usually it's people on the lower end of the income distribution that struggle the most. So you might get a few welfare checks here and there, some handouts, but I think this another term of the NDP is just going to be a crushing blow to the BC economy. They've already done tremendous damage here. So if you want to see a change, you want to see common sense change, you should be voting conservative. If you want to get ahead, you're ambitious, you're trying to build a business, you're trying to buy your first home, you should be voting conservative. All right? I'm Jay Coupar. Feel free to comment below or subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.